Hello all, I Nirmala Rawat welcome you to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be starting new chapter. Here's a quick recap of chapter 11. Shri Ram, Mata Sita and Shri Laxman reached Panchvati forest. Learned from sages about atrocities done by Ravan's army. Many fierce battles took place between Shri Ram, Laxman and Ravana's army. Mata Sita comes in contact with the forest hermit Chandrika. Thus comes to know about a demoness who lures best student of hermitage and kills them. Chapter 11 ended with Mata feeling demoness presence nearby. Moving on to chapter 12. Soma relates Sita's journey into Lanka. Part 1. One evening, a few days later, as Mata was preparing the night meal, she overheard Lakshman ask Shri Ram if he noticed the wonderful fragrance in the air that evening. Shri Ram shook his head. He had not noticed anything unusual. Lakshman continued to muse with a smile. I wonder which unknown flower is emitting that beautiful smell. Mata nearly dropped the pot she was holding when she realized that the fragrance had now entered the area around their heart. She had no time to think of a response because just then she heard a female voice. Mata listened as the woman who had entered their garden introduced herself. I am Maya, daughter of a great sage who is not known in these parts. My father and I are visiting one of the hermitages, and hearing that two hermits are living here alone, I have brought you food that I have cooked with my own hands. Lakshman welcomed her. He told her that dinner was being prepared and she was most welcome to join them. Mata peered out from the kitchen area and caught sight of the young, beautiful woman who had entered. The fragrance that she had come to abhor, trailing along, overpowering all other scents. Even at this distance, she could feel the magnetism that emanated from the woman and immediately knew her to be the demoness of whom Chandrika had spoken. When she saw Lakshman accept the pot of food from her, Mata rushed out and immediately took the pot from him. Maya looked at her wryly and said in a sarcastic tone, I didn't know you had a servant with you. I had heard two hermit warriors were living in these woods. Nobody mentioned a servant. Shri Ram stiffened and replied in a cool tone, Let me introduce you to my wife Sita. You may join us if Sita has no objection. Mata nodded her assent and then returned to the kitchen. Her heart was pounding and she was unsure of what to do. What trouble was this woman stirring? What if it were Lakshman she was after, or her husband? That could not be, she reasoned. She remembered her response to Chandrika when asked what she would do if the demoness twisted her husband's mind. Mata shook this thought away. It could never be, she silently affirmed to herself. She had no reason to believe that this woman was going to trouble them. But what to do with the food she had brought? Already the meal for the evening was prepared. Instinctively, she threw out the food behind a nearby tree and after washing the pot, filled it with the food she had prepared. It was already dark and the faded lights from the fire was not bright enough for the woman to see that she had replaced her gift of food. Mata returned to where the others sat and dished out the food. Lakshman and Shri Ram hungrily ate it all, thanking the woman profusely for the delicious meal. Taking second and third helpings, they easily finished all the food in the pot. Neither Mata nor Maya touched the food. They simply watched as the men ate. Maya watched them intently, chatting all the while. At first, she inched closer to Shri Ram, but when Shri Ram rose and seated himself on the other side of Mata, She began to approach Laxman. Not suspecting any dangerous event, he readily responded to her conversation and flirtations. But eventually, he grew tired of the conversation and suggested it was time for all of them to retire. Maya looked at Lakshman and then Shri Ram. They had eaten all of her food and there was no effect. Suddenly, she looked at Mata, who was smiling knowingly at her. You replaced the food I had brought, didn't you? She asked accusingly, her voice rising. Is this how you treat a guest who has brought you food? Mata asked in a stern voice. Who are you really, and what have you come for? When Mata spoke this word, Shri Ram realized that this woman was the one causing disturbances at the hermitages. She was the one responsible for that young ascetic's death, for Chandrika's sorrow. What do you want here in this forest? Asked Mata. We will not be fooled or be killed by you. The woman's face turned red with anger, and at that moment Mata saw her true form and she cried out, Shurpnakha! She had never seen Ravan's sister, but somehow she knew the woman to be her. I will teach you a lesson to disrespect me, you farmer girl. Shurpanakha lunged at Mata, her hands circling Mata's neck as Mata gasped for air. Shri Ram tried to reach Mata, but before he could free her, Lakshman grabbed his knife and threw it at the woman, badly disfiguring her face. She let out a blood-curdling scream. With blood pouring down her sliced nose, she cursed them and ran off before they fully realized what had happened. Her parting words as she pointed her bloodied finger at Lakshman. And you will suffer a most painful death, reverberated through the air. They were all agitated by what had taken place. Who is that woman? Lakshman asked when he regained his bearing. The sister of Ravan, whispered Mata as Shri Ram sat her down and began massaging her neck. Shurpanakha's finger had left deep marks and she felt sore and depleted. This will not be the last of her, I fear. She was the one who lured away Chandrika's husband, the man you found dead in the river. And how many more she has killed that way we can only guess. I know, he replied. Her arrival is a warning. We will soon face Ravan. It is inevitable now. He will not accept the wounding of his sister without a response. I am sorry about her disfigurement, Mata said. It was something that I foresaw. Mata then told Shri Ram and Laxman about her experience a few days earlier, when during meditation she found herself seated beside Chandrika, comforting her after she learned of her husband's untimely death. I told her that the law of cause and effect will bring to the woman who deceived her husband the fruits of her actions. She added, looking at Lakshman, but if that is true, then what we have just done will also bring the fruits. Tears came into Mata's eyes, and in her mind she resolved that she would never let anything happen to Lakshman. After all, what he had done was for the purpose of defending her. It is I who am responsible, replied Lakshman. I threw the knife that wounded her, and I will gladly take responsibility for protecting you no matter what price I have to pay. Shri Ram tried to calm them both. Whatever comes from this series of events will be borne by all of us. There was no choice but to protect you, Sita. Lakshman did what he needed to do, and what you saw that day with Chandrika was merely the outcome of Shurpnakha's deed. Just as that poor that poor man's death was the outcome of his deeds. It is true that it is great offense to harm an unarmed woman, said Shri Ram soberly. Even a demoness, even one who has committed such atrocities. But we have had to kill and maim women demons before, and we have had to pay the price, so we will this time as well. She was not unarmed, Ram, replied Mata. Her Her delusionary powers were her weapons. This was just battle. Shri Ram nodded. Now we must brace ourselves for what lies ahead. Laxman continued to look troubled, and Shri Ram sought to allay his concerns. You did what you needed to do, Laxman. Had you not intervened, Sita could have been seriously hurt, or worse. It all happened so quickly. Laxman, you and I were not alert. Only Sita saw the danger that this woman posed and exchanged the food she had brought us for her own cooking. As soon as I tasted the food, I recognized that it was Sita's. We must be even more attentive now because the negative forces have come right into our midst. They are among us. Jai Shri Ram. Thank you for watching complete videos and being with me on this journey. Please subscribe if not yet subscribed. Do not forget to watch, like, comment and share. Bye for now. Have a wonderful day. Jai Shri Ram.